Haven't figured out. I mean, I've got a bunch of stuff that I could use.
Got 100 with.
Oh, yeah. Projects and all kinds of stuff. So CASMIC will hopefully, it's gonna go through the mayor for a little bit. If it does, I have full confidence in CASMIC and, he will be your next target.
Target.
Yeah, don't believe a word they
Here's
say.
some-
That one's the one you gotta worry about.
I know.
You're really selling it. I believe secretary was the right.
Huh? I'm all done. There's up the 30th. Sorry.
We're good to go.
We are good to go. All
Yeah.
right. So we are live, which means we should call the meeting to order. And thank you for that news, Kurt, or don't not thank you, but
Yeah, you're welcome.
uh,
Yeah, thanks a lot.
we will celebrate you at the end of the well. Yeah. To our meeting. I officially call our meeting to order. This is the July 2024 meeting of the Rochester Land Bank Corporation. For those of you joining us online. First chairperson of the board of the Rochester Land Bank Corporation. Moving on to the first item on our agenda, the approval of the May meeting minutes. Are there any comments, corrections, or concerns? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Then we'll move on to the next item of business, the treasurers and cash disbursements reports. Please come in that.
Put them in, John. Um. The cash disbursement, North Coast is one of our, two recently approved property managers, and those are the costs. For April and May, there were several board ups, that happened in April that bumped up the cost. We've been help securing property or resecuring them, maybe. We have some training for both, Paul and Ritza for their, certifications. And easy pass tolls to get to their, their certification. The 375 was, tuition or conference fees for the, it was the New York Land Bank Association Conference and Association for NICOM's Community Revitalization Conference. And then the two expenses for day environmental were the finishing up of some, ESA, phase 2 ESA, as part of the grant, so that's the grant funding. I can't explain this one, I don't get it, so. This it shows, I assume the expenses that are from here. And evident, let's see, was there any revenue? Same.
Ties to your disbursements.
There we go. And there was, oh, the revenue that came in at the top is reimbursement for the expenses for the previous quarter.
And the July reports will be presented in August.
Presumably when the treasurer returns to.
Yes, he advised he wasn't able to come in because he was on vacation, but he'll present the July in August.
A quick question on North Coast. Do we know if they manage any other property
In the city,
in the city?
they manage their own property, that they own,
Uh-huh.
but they don't manage as contractors for other property.
Okay.
But the other that we approved does manage for other property. That is first turnkey.
The name sounds a little familiar.
They have a long history with the city. I believe they purchased did they purchase something from the city?
They
North
purchase properties.
From the city.
Mhm.
And a lot of businesses, they use the name North Coast, so they probably have come across them a bunch, yeah, there's a lot of different. North Coasts.
That's what it is. They mean someone kind of-
Yeah.
We didn't have any issues with them at all. And usually when I ask Kurt if you know these people, you know, that's usually a good sign. And code enforcement does not know your name off the top of your head.
Well, thank you. Then we'll move on to the next item of business on our agenda, resolution. Number 13, approving the sale of properties to the Rochester Development Fund Corporation.
So we have 5 properties that the land bank acquired at tax foreclosure auction. And acquired at the request of the Rochester Housing Development Fund Corp. We are now transferring them to the RHBFC. So that we rehabbed, put into the home Rochester program. Y'all are familiar with home Rochester.
The first time home buyers, right?
First time home buyer, owner occupants,
Okay,
income qualified, checks all the boxes.
great. Let's see.
Yeah. We do like this program and we like working with the RHBFC.
And these are properties that were purchased at the most recent auction.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Tax foreclosure, correct.
Yep.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Very impressive. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
They felt they
Yeah, y'all seen that. This one's come across really that multiple times.
Sure, all right. Another important one, resolution 14, amending our FOIL policy.
So if you've been familiar, if anybody,
Andrew, would you be prepared to speak on that?
sure. Okay, yep, so let me
You
introduce
know
it
what?
and I'll let you, and I'll hand it off, to you, and then I'll hand it off to you, yeah.
The next one is even more important.
Yeah, so the FOIL policy, I obviously didn't prepare any statements here, so excuse me if this isn't the most excellent speech you guys have ever heard. But the FOIL policy, the prior FOIL policy, or the one in place currently, wasn't working as well as it could. It required that anybody who was making a FOIL request was submitting it to a special email address, and we were processing it basically through Ryan and Paul. And that doesn't work because ultimately it's going to run through the city anyway. So this just aligns it with the city's process. We're running it through Just FOIA, and it makes it a lot easier for the law department to assist the land bank in fulfilling those FOIL requests. As for
So these changes should offer a faster turnaround for information that people are seeking through FOIL and it'll be more transparent. and-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes it more efficient and it allows, you know. It makes it more accurate as well. So like, we're not missing anything. We're not leaving any requests that are received outstanding. You know, it just makes a lot more sense for us to process it that way. So it's sort of a housekeeping item.
Will this be put on the website?
What's that?
This language?
New, yeah, so we're required by state law to have our FOIL policy published online.
Okay.
So it'll be in the same place that the FOIL policy is now. So the second item is also a more of a housekeeping item.
Yeah,
Well, hang on.
You gotta vote on this.
Oh, we gotta-
They gotta
we have
stop.
to go.
They stop.
I'm as excited as you are.
Whenever you want me
All right, this is great. That's any other thoughts, comments?
I have a curious question. So in my tenure here, most recently, there was a request for information. And I know it was a little bit of what seemed like, from my perspective, controversial. Is there any need that a FOIL request from anything from the land bank board would need your eyes?
Well, we have a FOIL attorney in the law department so really, it always does come to me,
Okay,
regardless.
okay.
The way it's routed, I'm sure it would work the same way that it works for city requests. So it goes through our FOIL paralegals, they stop by the department, who I guess in this case would be the land bank, who houses the data. And then if the paralegals need anything, or if they know, especially in the case of the land bank, they know that I'm the attorney who handles land bank.
Okay,
So they come to me and they say, hey, what's the deal with
Yeah,
this? Like,
that's-
you know, is there anything?
that was my concern.
They,
is
they essentially always.
You putting
ask.
eyes on it
Yeah.
and knowing why and who's asking for the information.
Exactly. I
Okay,
mean, ultimately, it's FOIL, so
Yeah.
it's subject
Yeah.
to public disclosure regardless. So, I mean, what's getting released is gonna get released, whether,
but we occasionally redact information.
yeah, of course. So like, yeah, all the usual stuff gets redacted.
Okay. Everybody understand my question? Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Second. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And our third and final resolution of the day is resolution 15, amending the real property disposition policy.
All right, you're on here. You're on, Andrew.
All right. So this is another housekeeping item to create a land bank or amend the land bank policy to more closely reflect a city process. So there was a property that was purchased by the land bank. This is some background so you guys understand some of the context. There's a property that was acquired by the land bank at the foreclosure auction. And it turned out that there was a tenant in the property, and the tenant may or may not have been the type of tenant who you don't want to try to evict, aggressive, allegedly. And Brian's looking at me, just confused. So,
I don't think.
well, it's the one that, what's that?
Starting.
Yes, Starling. So it's on Starling Street.
Oh, that's not the one that precipitated.
It's which one
Are we
is it?
sending Starling back? Is that one that's going back?
66, well, the one that's Kurt Dane, was it Starling? Which
No,
one?
no, Campbell.
It's from the previous
Campbell.
tax foreclosure,
Yeah,
and there
Campbell.
wasn't an
Campbell,
aggressive.
Yes,
right.
Campbell.
It's
So-
just that we're gonna.
Sure. Okay.
Prior- prior
I'm
owner.
confusing it with another property. But so this would allow the land bank to, if it runs into a situation where it doesn't benefit the land bank to continue to have a property, like, you know, it might be owner occupied. There might be a difficult tenant in the property, the land bank would be able to, sell it back to the former owner. The same way that the city might do the same thing. Under, you know, there's a contract with certain terms, and certain requirements that would have to be met by the former owner in order for the land bank to sell it back to them, the same way that that exists for the city. But this would allow the land bank to do that. I assume there are questions about this one.
Because we don't have management services that do evictions, or just want to avoid altercations with people.
Well, it's not really in our best interest to do an eviction in this instance. It's not
Depends on the,
on the condition of property,
well, and the character that's occupying.
and this is not that situation
Okay.
where that was the case.
Right now.
So these are, you know, evidently, you know, quiet tenants. We've not had any interactions with them, though we tried.
Mhm.
The property does not appear to be in bad condition, and then the owner, the former owner, reached out as if they hadn't heard over the course of the year that gotten, how could this have happened? We would like our property back. So it's not a situation where there was some sort of aggressive tenant or anything like that. It's just not really necessary for the landlord to step in this. It's not
Yeah.
blighted, the tenants aren't complaining,
Right.
it's, you know.
We want to have the ability. We want to have the disposition ability to do it this way. But just, it doesn't take anything away from us, it just adds another option. Sell a property back, particularly this one. Yeah, I don't know how you miss 7 or 8 notices that Treasury sends out, but apparently that happens. And we don't want an occupied property, we don't want to have to displace somebody, so if the homeowner has reached out, you have no issues, we're happy to get it back in.
Any Thoughts or questions? All right, we have a motion to approve. Moved and seconded, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, well, then we can move on to our favorite part of the agenda, which is discussion, where Ryan usually regales us with all kinds of tales. In this case, of their travels.
6:13. You probably did, I just don't think to find it.
No, I haven't. And maybe I didn't. Here it is.
Okay,
There you go.
so yes, tales of sunny, and it was sunny, although there was a tornado warning and. Yeah, things happen. Oswego. I am not gonna talk for 45 minutes. Talk a lot. So the Land Bank Association, the state association, had its annual summit, and they always partner with another entity, and the NICOM has its community revitalization conference at every other year, so this is a year. It was, I think it's a good match for the type of work that happens. The last year, it was with the Rural Housing Commission, which was very helpful to some land banks, but was left over for us. So this year, the NICOM conference is 2 days, and then we have a full day of land bank programming on the third day. There were 2 tracks at the NICOM conference, and one of them was vacant and abandoned properties. 3 of the land banks presented at the NICOM conference, and we were one of them. Just talking about how now there's 30 land banks, and they have all different kinds of configurations and relationships to their governing bodies and activities that they do. So there was one that there's 2 land banks that are run by hired entity Chemung County and I believe Steuben County. And it's the same entity. They have different relationships with that entity, but it works for both counties. And there was the fairly new Wayne County land bank that is really very rural with a lot of small towns in that space, and the type of work that they do and their interactions with the multiple governing units that have formed them. So the land bank, there were also, let's see, a discussion of the new land bank, the new tax foreclosure process, Article 11 tax foreclosure process at that conference, which we have come to discover does not have much of an impact on the city because the city is already in compliance with the changes that the Supreme Court case required the process to return funds to the former owner in the case that there is an excess. The big event of the NICOM conference was a presentation by Jeff Speck, who is a very famous urbanist and planner. And he gave huge shout out to the city of Rochester for the work that they have done with the interview. The planning of the land around the interview. Was very impressed. We should probably invite him. Very excited. He hasn't been here since 2014. But it's following it online and looking at pictures and just told us we did it right in Syracuse, you should live.
That's good, because if he's listening, I apologize, but he didn't sing that same tune when he was here in 2014, so. I'm
Well,
glad
we
that
hadn't done it.
Proved him wrong.
So that was, I guess, a highlight.
Was there any, did you know if any of the land banks leverage their land bank power to convert some of the corporate purchases of properties? Because I was in Chicago for the conference, the NLC conference, and they were saying that they had to go in and do that, use their land bank to kind of to get all the foreclosure properties in there. And then leverage that in collaboration with the land trust to kind of push first-time home buyers in the forefront above and beyond the corporation, because they were gobbling up everything.
That was, so there are land banks in New York State that do have that power where they take all of the tax foreclosed properties into their ownership, and then they are responsible for making sure they get into responsible hand. Our market is a little different, so while we certainly do have investors that gobble up many properties, and, you know, maybe don't, on the back end, they're not as efficient as they are at purchasing. That said, our process is such that the city does not foreclose. The city does not take title to the properties and then is able to decide who gets them. And that process, the reason why that process it's a judicial process, and that is why it doesn't have to be changed now that the Supreme Court action has changed. So the fact that we have a land bank to intervene in some instances is certainly a bonus. We would have to change our entire foreclosure structure in order to get in between all of the opportunities for, you know, corporate interest or larger, less conscientious interests. That doesn't seem to be, I mean, it's certainly a problem, but given our market, it's not been probably the same level of problem as like in Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, they have a serious problem over there.
The city does, I mean, in addition to the land bank, it does devote resources to, you know, there's the review on the back end as to whether someone, you know, has existing properties that they own in the city that have code violations. Doesn't catch everybody, but it might catch a few experienced ones. And there's also just the resources that it goes to the land bank that allows it to actually intervene. So we do it with me.
Are there any trends that the coalition is tracking?
So larger trends, we're kind of floundering as a state and an entity and trying to figure out how are we going to acquire properties and make sure that we can keep them and not get sued because of the changes to the law. And the majority of the land banks in the state were not in a situation where we were, where there wasn't this disruption to the tax foreclosure process. I think that a lot of the land banks, because of what happened, where there weren't tax foreclosures happening, and then they didn't know how to deal with them, there's a lot of new construction. There's a lot of state money that supports it. If you're in a community that needs a land bank, you likely also have vacant land that you weren't able to do things with. So I do know in Buffalo, $24 million of ARPA money is going into the land bank, building 64 new owner occupied housing in the area. So there's a lot of focus on that currently. And once we get through this tax foreclosure season, and we have some, you know, different, there's the attorney for the Land Bank Association has a definite recommendation as to how to ensure that we are, or land banks are in compliance. It doesn't apply us because we were already in compliance, but are in compliance with that new requirement to ensure that all access goes back to lien holders and former owner. And nobody's tested that, so that has been much talk there. So
Nice.
those are the big areas of discussion. So they have the land bank association supports a lot of the smaller land banks. They have an attorney that will, you know, provide services to the other land banks. They have an accounting firm that they use that gives a discount. They have an insurance firm that they use that comes to policy, gives a discount, and they pay for all of our land bank association, you know, activities. So that was a lot of the third day programming. So I think that was all I had. Unless there's, but I have slide decks, if anybody, I can share them. For folk that are not common.
Great. And the next big conference is
St. Louis, October 7th through the 10th. And that is, we're claiming vacant properties. It's the original, it's the OG. It's worth it to go.
It's in the OG.
The OG. Frank Alexander, Center for Community Progress. Oh, here's the other thing. So Brian Larkin, I don't know if anybody went to the National Land Bank Summit, that he's the head of the National Land Bank Summit now. And he came to our conference and part from and you will definitely get to meet him if you go to the conference in St. Louis. Lots of new things with them.
If you have the time, it's worth it, you're welcome. There's a lot of good content there, you talk to a lot of people. A lot of stuff after hours as well. Just general discussion. But if you have that time, encourage everybody.
And we, you know, we'll pay for it. I can play middle October 7th through the 10th.
Any other comments or anything for the good of the board? Then to thank her for the service.
Michigan.
Come visit. It's an open meeting.
That's right.
I'll sit here and heckle you next.
We've had worse.
Yeah,
How many years?
26.
So we will need all your contact information, your address, your phone number, everything, just in case we need you.
I'll
When
have
your
my,
office hours are.
I'll have my other assistant send it to you.
All right, great. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Been a lot of seconds, It's really impressive. Moved and seconded, all in favor. Opposed, we stand. We stand adjourned, thank you.
They put cookies.
Guys, there's cookies, there's brownies, there's fruit. Take some right now.